Credit card companies have a name for their favorite customers, the ones who make them the most money, the ones they build entire marketing departments around keeping. They call them revolvers. And they have a name for the customers they hate, the ones who cost them money, who they'd honestly rather not deal with. They call those people deadbeats. I spent a decade being the customer they loved, $87,000 worth of loved. Today I'm going to show you exactly how the game works, the limit increases that aren't compliments, the offers that arrive at suspiciously perfect timing, and the math they're hoping you never run. Because once you see the playbook, you can't unsee it. Let me mess with the story you've been telling yourself. You're not bad with money. You're a business model. Inside the credit card world, they've got labels for us. A revolver is somebody who carries a balance and pays interest. That's the sweet spot. A transactor pays in full every month, dodges interest. And the industry slang for that person? Deadbeat. Yeah, deadbeat means you pay on time and pay in full. PBS Frontline talked about this years ago in The Secret History of the Credit Card. Now here's why the names are revealing. A revolver is worth roughly $240 of profit a year. A transactor is more like 25, nearly 10 times. And about 85 to 90% of issuer revenue comes from people revolving. The heavy revolvers, around 20% of accounts, drive about 2/3 of the revenue. Zoom out. Americans are sitting on about $1.27 trillion in credit card debt, paying around $254 billion a year in interest and fees. That's not an accident. That's the model working. If you're paying interest, you're not a customer. They're monetizing your stress. And I know because I was a textbook revolver. $87,000 in debt. I thought I was just irresponsible. Turns out I was profitable. Also, those fancy rewards, they don't come from nice banks. At scale, the points are funded by revolvers. That's the uncomfortable math. Minimum payments used to be a lot bigger. Back in the 1970s, they were around 5%. Now, it's commonly 1 to 2% plus interest. And that's not them being nice. That's them turning your credit card into a subscription plan. Here's the math you can't unsee. Say you've got a $10,000 balance at 22% APR. A 2% minimum payment is about $200. Cool, sounds responsible, right? Except roughly 183 of that is interest. About $17 actually knocks down the balance. 17. That's like trying to bail out a flooded basement with a spoon. If you pay minimums only, you're looking at 12 plus years on a balance like that, and over $4,400 in interest. Money you will never get back, for stuff you probably don't even remember buying. And more than 1 in 5 people with revolving debt say they generally only make the minimum. So yeah, minimum payment isn't the responsible payment. It's the payment that keeps you paying. I'm curious, have you ever done the math on one of your old statements? Like actually checked how much went to interest versus principal? Drop it in the comments if you have. Some of those numbers are honestly wild. I still remember the first time my credit limit got bumped while I was already drowning. I'm sitting there with a balance I can't pay off, stressed out of my mind, and the email shows up. Congrats, we increased your limit. And I genuinely thought, wow, they trust me. No, Jim. That wasn't trust. That was a sales offer. Here's the part nobody says out loud. Your limit goes up because the bank thinks you will safely borrow more, not because you're winning. In fact, about 75 to 80% of limit increases are initiated by the bank, not you. And if you're a revolver, someone carrying a balance, you're roughly twice as likely to get those increases, around 4% per quarter versus 2%. Zoom out and it's huge. Around 12% of cards get a limit increase each year, adding about $160 billion in new available credit. And when limits go up, revolving debt eventually rises about 10% for revolvers. They didn't lower your risk, they raised your spending ceiling. Worst part? Nearly 1 in 5 people already struggling with card debt report getting an unsolicited increase. And I still get these in the mail, by the way. Checked yesterday. Limit increase offer sitting right there. They're patient. Let's talk about the 0% balance transfer, because the math starts with a little punch in the mouth. Most of these deals charge about a 3% transfer fee. So if you move $10,000, that's $300 on day one. Not after interest, not later, immediately. Congrats, you paid $300 for the privilege of still being in debt. And that's the real point of the offer. It's not a rescue mission, it's debt acquisition. They're basically saying, hey, bring us your balance from the other bank. We'd like to make the interest on it. The promo is usually around 12 months, sometimes up to 21, and then whatever's left flips to 20% APR or higher. So it creates this fresh start feeling without a behavior change. The debt gets reorganized, not removed. And if you're wondering why you got the offer, people who carry balances are about 850% more likely to shop for these cards than people who pay in full. A balance transfer isn't a rescue plan. It's often a bet you won't finish before the clock runs out. I did 2 of these. Felt like I was being smart, playing the system. Spoiler, I wasn't. I just moved the pile from one corner of the room to another. When I was deep in my debt mess, the offers always showed up at the exact worst time. Limit increase, 0% for 12 months. You're pre-approved. Like the universe was trolling me. I remember this one clearly. December 2018. I'd just put Christmas on a card I couldn't afford. I was stressed, doing that thing where you refresh your bank app like it's gonna apologize. January 3rd, mailbox. You're pre-approved for our Platinum Rewards card. Perfect timing. For them. Here's what's actually happening. Your spending and payments create a pattern, and banks don't model your character. They model your profitability. They can buy pre-screened lists and use credit bureau data, score range, how much debt you're carrying, whether you tend to revolve, to figure out, is this person likely to carry a balance and pay fees? And it's not tinfoil hat stuff. Research looking at over 2 million spending records found spending patterns can predict traits like materialism and self-control. And lower self-control lines up with more bank charges. So yeah, they know who's more likely to get hit with fees. That's the takeaway. Those perfect timing offers show up because your behavior is broadcasting, I might carry a balance. And if this is clicking, if you're sitting there thinking, why did nobody explain it like this? Subscribe. No sponsors, no courses, just me, a spreadsheet, and a grudge against interest. Hitting like helps other people find it too. Now let's talk about how to become the customer they hate. So here's the punchline. In their language, a deadbeat is the person who pays on time, pays in full, and barely generates interest. That's not an insult. That's the finish line. And the plan isn't motivational, it's mechanical. First, stop new revolving. If the card keeps accidentally getting used, get it out of your wallet. I literally put my main card in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. Sarah still laughs about it at dinner parties. But you know what? It worked. Next, pick a payoff date, then set the payment. Not, I'll try, more like, this is gone in 18 months. Minimums become irrelevant when you have a deadline. Set autopay for the minimum so you never miss. Then add a separate weekly or bi-weekly extra payment that actually hits principal. Then APR triage. Highest APR first. With average card APR around 23%, interest is the enemy, not your willpower. If limit increases make you spend more, request a lower limit or lock the card away. Balance transfers only count if you can finish inside the promo window. Otherwise, you're just moving the mess to a cleaner corner. Nobody forced my swipes. I made choices. But I was also playing a game designed to keep me revolving until I changed the rules. And no, you don't need to carry debt to build credit. Carrying debt isn't a strategy, it's a profit stream. Pick a side today, revolver by default or deadbeat by design. Then do one thing right now. Freeze the card, set a payoff date, or raise your payment.